Hello and welcome to lesson 4.3, Graphing Linear Inequalities. Now, graphing linear inequalities is very similar to graphing regular equalities. All right, but there are three things to keep in mind. Number one is form of the line or form of the inequality. You want to have it in slope-intercept form. Okay? So that would be y is, I'm just going to say greater than, less than, equal to, whatever, mx plus b. This will make it easy to graph it, but also a little bit later on, it will help make it easy to shade the right form of the graph. I'll get into shading in a minute. The second thing that you need to keep in mind is symbols. When you are graphing the line, there are two different ways you can graph it. If you have a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to symbol, you are going to have a solid line. Okay, no breaks, no dashes, solid line. However, if you have a greater than or less than symbol, so no equal tos, you're going to have a dotted line. So when you go to graph the line, always pay attention to the symbol and whether or not you're graphing a solid line or a dotted line. Last but not least, as I hinted in the first step, shading. Okay. We're graphing inequalities. So y is going to be greater than the rest of the equation or less than the rest of the equation, which means you will be either shading above or below the line depending on what your inequality is. Okay? So your answer will always have some element of shading in it. That being said, let's do number one. So this one already has it in slope-intercept form, so I don't have to worry about that one. And I'm going to go straight to graphing my line. As a reminder, it's y mx plus b. b is my y-intercept. So that means my first point is down here at 0, -2. I have a negative slope, which means I'm going down 3 over 4. So 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll do another point going up. So up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, those are my 3 points. Now before I graph the actual line, I look at my symbol. I have a greater than or equal to symbol. So I am going to graph a solid line. Now, last but not least, shading. Now when you shade, read the equation again and pay attention to whether y is greater than or less than. In this sentence, we have y is greater than our equation, greater than or equal to our equation. That means that all values of y have to be above the line, and so we're going to shade up here. Above the line, greater than the line. Now the way we check this is to pick a point. Think back to when we were graphing on number line and we picked 3 different numbers to see if those worked. Same thing here. You're going to pick 3 different points. One above the line, so I'm going to pick 0, 0. One on the line, my y-intercept, and one below the line. Now the purpose of this is to see where you should be shading. Any points in the shaded region, or all of the points in the shaded region, should make the inequality true. Any point not in the shaded region is going to make it false. So let's test out our 2 shaded region ones first. So this point, and let's go with -3, -3, to see if my shading's in the right place. Then we'll test the y-intercept. So first off, I'm going to do my 0, 0. So 0 is greater than or equal to -3 over 4 times 0 minus 2. Anything times 0 is 0. So I am left with this. Whoops. Right. 0 is greater than or equal to a -2. this is correct. This is a true statement, so my shading so far is in the right spot. Now let's check -3, -3. Actually, I'm going to change my point. You'll understand why in a minute. And I'm going to change it to -4, -1. And the reason why I change it to -4, -1 is so that it'll work better with my fraction and it'll cancel out the denominator, which will make my life easier. Okay. So now that I've plugged my points in, as I said a moment ago, my 4's are going to cancel out. Okay, if you don't understand that step, you're going to multiply -4 to the top, and that's going to give you a -12/4, which will then divide and give you, it should be a +12 over 4. And when you divide out, it'll give you a 3. Okay, all that to say, we have -1 greater than or equal to 3 minus 2. And then we have -1 is greater than or equal to 1. This is incorrect. It does not make the statement true. Therefore, we are not going to be shading underneath the line. All right, now that was just for shading. This last point, my y-intercept, I want to check it just to make sure if my line should be solid or dotted. Okay, so if my line is solid, then this point is going to work. It's going to make the statement true. If my line should be dotted, then -2 as the y-intercept will not make the statement true. So here we go. I'm going to plug this point in. So this is -2 is greater than or equal to -3/4 times 0. Because remember, my point here is 0, -2, minus 2. Anything times 0 is 0, which means I'm left with -2 is greater than or equal to -2, and that is correct. So I should have a solid line, and I should be shading above. Give you another example, and I'll go a little bit faster on this one. That way you can see how it works without me pausing to explain every step. All right, so it's already in slope-intercept, so I'm good. I'm going to graph my y-intercept point first, right there. Positive slope of 2, so that's up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Y is less than the equation, so that means a dotted line this time. And then because y is less than my equation, that means I'm going to be shading below the graph. Okay, pick a few points just to test it out. I'm going to pick 2, -2, 0, 0, and let's go with 1, 1. Actually, no. I need to pick a point on the line, so let's again go with our y-intercept of 0, -4. So my shaded area first, just make sure I'm in the right direction. So my inequality is going to be -2 is less than 0, which is a true statement. So far my shading is in the right place. Next, I'm going to test my non-shaded area point and make sure that I shouldn't have any shading over there. Okay, 0 is less than -4. That is incorrect. So far, so good. Finally, I'm going to check my point on the line and see if it should be solid or dotted. And I have -4 is less than -4. Since this statement is incorrect, that means I should have a dotted line, and I have graphed my line correctly. Now, some special cases, because there's always special cases. We go to x is greater than 2. So when we graphed beforehand, we had x is equal to 2, we had y, looking at this problem over here, y is equal to -5. you should by now know how to graph these equations. When we do inequalities, sometimes it's a little difficult to see where the shading should be. So I'm going to focus as a refresher on how to graph these, but I'm really going to focus on the shading and where you should shade. All right. So when we graph number 3 here, our x is greater than 2. So that means x is going to be on 2. And any x graph is a vertical line. So I have a vertical line going on here. But since my symbol is just a greater than symbol, I'm going to have a dotted line. Okay, there's my dotted line. Now, since x is greater than 2, that means any value I pick has to be bigger than 2, and that means I'm shading over here to the right of the graph. And you can check the exact same way. You can pick a point in the non-shaded area, you can pick a point on the line, and then you can pick a point in the shaded area, and let's see if this works. So I have, again, I'm using only my x coordinates, only the x coordinates. So for my first point, that would be 0 is greater than 2. That is not true. So there shouldn't be any shading over there. Then I have 2 is greater than 2. That is also not true. 2 is equal to 2. Therefore, my line should be dotted, which it is. Finally, I have 4 is greater than 2. This is correct, so my shading should be to the right. Okay, last problem. Let's do a y line, a horizontal line. So y is less than -5, so I'm going to put my y point first. Y is less than -5, so that's going to be a dotted line. And because all values of y need to be smaller than -5, my shading will be below the line. And again, we can check. So I'm going to pick 6 as a point, my intercept as a point, and then let's go 0, 0 as a point. Now, I've picked 0, 0 every time just because it's convenient. You don't have to pick 0, 0. I just do because, as I said, it's convenient. So I'm going to use my 0, 0 first. So y coordinate only. Is 0 less than -5? No, it is not. So I should not have shading in this direction. Let's do my intercept first. Should my line be dotted or solid? -4 is less than -5. That is incorrect. So my line should be dotted, which it is. And last but not least, -6 is less than -5. That is a true statement, so my shading should be underneath the line, which it is. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, complete the rest of the worksheet online, and I'll see you in class.